City of Stevens Point Board of Public Works meeting, recorded October 15, 2025.
We'll call the Public Works meeting to order at 6:57. Could we get a roll call, please?
Sure, Mayor Weeza.
Here.
Alder Tiffany, or Chris Tiffany.
Did anybody here?
I didn't hear anything.
Okay, excused, please.
Okay.
I'm sorry, absent, not excused.
Alder Kneebone. Here. Alder Morrow.
Here.
Alder Keemer.
Here.
Alder Shuda.
Here.
Alder Boozy.
Here.
Item number 1 is the director's report covering a few things: Division Street and Church Street reconstruction, fall paving, Hoover Road intersection signalizations, Park Street Railroad crossing closure, and garbage and recycling ordinance revisions. Director.
Yes, a few things to cover this month. There are several things to highlight, starting with Division and Church Street. One thing that came up here very recently, we had a 90% design review for our PS&Es, which is plan specifications and estimates. And WISDOT threw at us that the regional rail coordinator wants us to redo the rail crossing where we were starting just north of. Our understanding was that that was completed when WISDOT did the intersection of Minnesota before, because of course you're not supposed to overlook a start and stop at a rail crossing. Our understanding was everything was in good shape there because that road was just redone, but apparently they want us to take that on. So WISDOT is actually looking for funding to cover that. How much they will be able to come up with, we don't know exactly, but there should be something. Still trying to work out the details, but it sounds like they will likely cover the construction costs, but the additional engineering from AECom may fall on our shoulders to do that. Overall, as far as the work and time it takes to get there, it really shouldn't add a lot because the rail will have a component of that. It'll just change our closure and staging process through there. But so AECom is working on that part there to try to get that completed. We have till the end of the month really to wrap things up and deliver our final PS&Es. So working very quickly to get that. And that's what I know on that today. In addition to that, just to bring attention to, we're still a ways off, haven't picked a date, but looking towards this winter as these two projects, the north and south segment, are wrapping up, to have an open house. Our thought would be to get there to present those to the public. So if you have those last minute questions about how this is all going to happen and get done and what some of the impacts and staging opportunities are related to just traveling through town, or businesses that can look at the detours and whatever else that we have set up, we'll be trying to schedule something like that for this winter. Fall paving project, not really much there other than just to say what I think is kind of the obvious at this time, is that work is definitely confirmed that it will happen first thing in the spring. Suchinski's was just unable to break free to get any of that work completed yet this fall. With that too, we'll have a public informational meeting sometime this winter when we get closer to the spring and they're ready to start and get a schedule from Suchinski's that we can share with everyone. Hoover Road intersection signalizations, that as of today, all work is complete. TAPCO is there today to program the pedestrian walk signals. They're the APS, so they're the audio type, so they had to program those to let everyone know what was going on there. That work was completed today, so now everything is functional there. So if anyone sees anything that looks odd or strange, as things time up, we'll probably be checking the timings here as we go in there and tweak them if need be. But if anyone sees anything odd, let me know.
Odd or strange related to the signals?
Yes. Yeah. Not if you see the mayor standing there, that's not necessarily strange.
No need to call.
And then, yes, one of the mayor's favorite, Park Street Railroad crossing. We recently had a public informational meeting that there honestly weren't as many people there as I thought, about 20 or so that had signed in. I think just to let everyone know where there was, much I think to also be expected. People were very curious as to why the Office of Commissioner of Railroads would be targeting, this crossing. What's kind of the justification? Why all of a sudden? Some of the people remember when the changes made last time, and wondering how that otherwise came to be. That now all of a sudden we find ourselves faced with this potential closure. Of course, people were wondering about where's the traffic, especially the truck traffic, others going to go, and understandably, nobody really wants the truck traffic, added in front of their house, and that's a great thing, very understandable for anybody. But if it is closed, the truck traffic is going to have to go somewhere. So engineering staff is still looking at that, and we'll have some things to hopefully present yet this winter on kind of our findings. Mostly now it's a matter of going through those. I think what we heard from the public was that, well, no one really wants it. People understand that trucks have to go somewhere, and no one presented that kind of like, here's why it can't go here, or here's why this can't change necessarily, that would prevent us from at least evaluating more. I think people bring up some good points. Related to that, that would just be things we'll have to otherwise work through, but that's now what the, engineering staff will otherwise work towards, is to try to kind of come up with the pros and cons and some of the cost estimates to try to get the improvements necessary to allow those trucks to function properly on those roads, especially in some of those turn and movements that they will need to make in order to find their way, back there. But I guess, yes, much to be expected. It really wasn't something that anyone was eager to hear about, but we will continue to proceed with that and see where we go to, and I'll be presenting later on. We might have another public information. I thought it was valuable. We may have another one yet this winter as we come up with more information on the truck routes. And then lastly, garbage recycling ordinance revisions. This summer, there was an administrative change, the rules changed from the DNR, which are requiring us to do some ordinance changes. Every municipality, every responsible municipality, which is local municipality, do that must make these changes. And so we're taking this opportunity to look at the rest of the administrative code, or our code of ordinances, to see what else we can change. It seems that there's a number of things that the DNR has kind of adjusted. I think we kind of like some of their wording and their flow a little bit better on some of their sample stuff. Kind of got us thinking about how we could maybe streamline ours. So we'll be taking the opportunity. We have to have ours done by the end of April next year. So I've told staff to kind of work on it, Superintendent Johnson to work on some things. So hopefully this winter we'll present some changes to that. Be just a good opportunity to do a complete overhaul of it and bring it up to date. So hopefully it reads a little better, clearer, and of course has all the information required by the state to have in it. And with that, I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of those.
Questions? Anyone?
I guess I would like to mention something he didn't mention, which was Country Club Drive. I worked with Scott and his crew for the last couple years, and it's finishing up recently, and the communication from his department to the people at the country club and across the road was excellent for 2 years, and I know he had to jump through a lot of hoops and everything doing that, considering it was town hall property and everything, but we agreed to do it years ago, I guess, and working with them was pleasant, if I may say.
Oh. Thank you. All right, item number 2 is on the amended agenda. That is a discussion-only item. If you recall, we had talked about a potential Terrace Garden Ordinance a while back, and it's just up for discussion again. See if anybody has any thoughts on it. I think there was some revisions made on page 8 and 9 of your packets since the last time we spoke. So we're just kind of tossing it around, getting some thoughts. What's everybody thinking? What's anybody thinking?
Yeah. And if not,
I wondered if, because there are some constraints about plants, invading the sidewalks and the curb and gutter. We've got, Portage County Master Gardeners, we've got UW Extension. Maybe we could get a list of plants that would meet the height and restrictions and put in there as a suggestion of plants that could be planted. Something in there about mowing the garden once a year. If you're planting perennials, you don't necessarily want to mow them down. So I wondered about that, but I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of really nice plantings around the city, and so just kind of, could we include some suggested plants?
I think we could start working on that before we even pass an ordinance.
Yeah, so just say these are ones that would be appropriate.
They're experts.
So.
Anyone else? I will say that, driving around this time of the year, it's a little less attractive than it is in, say, June, right? Things are starting to get their end of their life cycle. And you have plants that are more than 3 feet tall, more than 2 feet tall. Some of them obstruct some vision, backing out of driveways, around corners. That's what this
Yeah.
is designed to help us regulate a little bit. The mowing thing, I know my neighbors have some perennials. When they start dying off, I think it's okay at least to clip them or trim them, because they'll come back next year. The other one is plantings that are encroaching the sidewalks or going over the curb into the gutter area. That creates problems not only for the pedestrians and bicyclists, but it also creates problems in our storm drains. Because this time of the year when the leaves are falling, the leaves tend to plug up the storm drains, which reminds me, if there's a storm drain near you, clear the leaves, you could do that. And that's what this ordinance is designed to do, right? We want to be proactive in making sure that safety is covered when we're doing these terrace gardens. Anyone else? So this is discussion only, but if you wanted, if the committee thought it was appropriate, we could bring it to council for action this month, or we can just wait another month. No harm, no foul. It's not like there's going to be a lot of brand-new plantings in November. Any thoughts? All right, then what we'll do is we'll not do any action on it at all this month, and we'll bring it back next month for approval from this committee and then subsequently council. If anyone watching, listening, has any additional thoughts, the sample ordinance or proposed ordinance will be available through the packet from tonight's meeting, and you can contact the Public Works Director if you have any thoughts on that. Item number 3 is an ordinance amendment to create traffic-controlled intersections at Hoover Road and Industrial Park and Hoover Road and Coye Avenue. This is in conjunction with the new signalized intersections. Director, anything to add there?
Nothing to add.
I would move approval.
Thank you.
I second.
Seconded by Morrow. Discussion? Comments from the audience? I have to say I've heard nothing but good things so far. After we understood why it was flashing for a while, people were losing their minds about that. But they're working good now. Getting good comments. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is approved. Item number 4 is to approve the STP, applying for the STP-Urban grant funding for the Business 51 project. Director?
So yes, as far as STP-Urban, it's not one of those that requires a resolution or something like that, but it's always good to know before the mayor signs off on it that everybody agrees to what it is and make the general understanding of this sort of program is that you're likely spending the money already. We're just going to make your costs. Otherwise, it's not a one-off that says, hey, there's a grant opportunity. We weren't thinking about it, but now we have this wonderful opportunity. We want to chase it. We're going to need extra money allocated to it. You know, most communities, at least I hope they are spending money on roads. So hopefully this is just supplementing what that is and allowing communities to get more done. But at the same time, it's just nice to know that everybody's on the same page and we really want to chase this down. So when we do others get there and we're signing off here at the end of the month, there's no question that, well, what does the council really think? So that's all it is. I mean, we've been successful already. Next year, we'll see the fruits of that as the south segment will be under construction. That is STP-Urban dollars. Talking to WSDOT, we put our draft together just to see kind of how they feel about it. We got some very good comments back. I think they like the size that we've otherwise picked at and what we're trying to otherwise accomplish with the, that segment of road. Feel it otherwise has a really good chance to otherwise get funding, but we don't know, of course, who else is applying. That's always the question to get there. It is an 80-20 split, so it's otherwise worthwhile, I think, even just to apply. And luckily, we have all the information from 30% design and whatnot, so it's not taking us as much time to put it together. So it hasn't really been, well, it's been time. It could be far worse than that. So I would definitely think we would otherwise want to chase it, but as I had mentioned the last meeting, if we are successful trying to work within their scheduling, it may shuffle the deck a little bit on how we accomplish things to try to fit this newly formed and cut piece out of it versus what might otherwise be in orderly fashion. So that's probably the only downside of doing it, because it takes longer to get to a point where you can bid working through the state than it would be if we were doing it on our own.
Motion to apply to get more money.
Motion to approve applying for the grant. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Keemer. Discussion there. Comments from the audience or anyone?
I
Oh,
just
I'm
had a
sorry.
quick question. I mean, that's a pretty short stretch of roadway. Is the fact that there's two, like, intersection realignments part of your
So,
thinking
yeah,
of
so we
why?
would be working within one of those, the Rice Whiting, but not through the Francis
Okay.
patch stuff. And the reason being is that there's two things that WISDOT doesn't really like on these applications, which is one of the reasons within here we were trying to work with them, see what might be palatable, is complicated real estate, and there are several relocations at Francis patch to get that to work, which brings it to a level considered to be potentially complicated, and also railroads. So even though there's the overpass there, you just never know how that coordination with the railroad goes. I've heard stories that it's taken 7 years to get things through. That was one of the stories I saw when we were talking about Michigan Avenue to get there. He said, well, they gave us kind of this one example where it was 7 years from approval to actually getting the rail all squared away. Don't know what that project was. Like to think that ours is that, but we're just trying to otherwise stay away from it. So we carved out something specific that we thought we would have a really good chance that would eliminate at least those two things.
They can close a city road a lot faster than that.
Oh, yeah.
Different
they can-
department, maybe?
Yeah. So they can. But yes, because we have those approaches that realignment actually adds a fair amount of cost, even though it's, a long, it's relatively short.
I just traveled to Milwaukee the other day. I can swear they're spending money on roads. They're still working.
Any other comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is approved. Item number 5 is to approve the resolution to file a petition with the Office of the Railroad Commissioners for the 2007 Patch Street Trail Project alterations. This has got a little bit of a history to
This one
it.
does, which is why I otherwise brought it here instead of taking it directly to council. I thought it would be good to introduce it here. This one took me by surprise as well. Back in July, the Office of Commissioner of Railroads, the same agency that wants to potentially close Park Street Rail Crossing, completed an inspection. This is the second year now that they've done inspections of our public rail crossings. They had otherwise come up with a list of things that we needed to otherwise correct for us and the rail. And then following that, about a month or so, I just got an email asking for some plans, other data, pictures, and whatnot, sent that in. They promptly responded by identifying that whatever alteration when the trail was put in on the north side of Patch Street there, they have no record of that at OCR. So as best as we know, it was never authorized. Every public crossing has to have authorization through OCR before it be done. So the establishment, closure, alteration of any, no record of it, even though there's a whole bunch of other information that we have working with the Wisconsin Central and everything. We can't find anything there, so we can't prove to them we've done. So what they've asked us to do is file this with them. Don't know exactly what that will mean, unfortunately, because what it really comes out to, and this is the first part of, one of the requirements is a resolution. They'd indicated they have templates. They said, write it like this. So it has to be today for these otherwise improvements. The one caveat that comes with it is, there may be other things they say, because it's all related to the safety intersection. If they deem that whatever exists there is not safe, they may say there's more work yet to be done at that intersection. Because the road is otherwise done, but none of the safety devices there were altered at that time. So it's a matter of whether the road alteration should have also included alterations for the safety warning devices. They'll have to weigh in on that, but this is what's going to otherwise start this process. We'll get there. Getting the approval for what we've done, I think, is going to be pretty straightforward. This is just part of that. What other things, if anything, they may ask us to do yet.
So, quick and easy, let's approve the resolution. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion
I'll second.
seconded by Kneebone. Discussion? Yeah, it's one of those things, who knows what happened in 2007, but it got missed somewhere,
It took them 18 years to find out.
right?
Who were those alder people back then?
Maybe we'll just tell them that the Wood Street intersection is closed and they won't figure that out for 18 years. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved, and we are adjourned at 7:16.